Today I am going to read second part from Hidden Facts in Nepalese Politics, which is written by Dr. Gopal Gurung. Before the compromise of the two leaders, Manmohan Adhikari and Sahana Pradhan, the Communist Party of Nepal had been split into 22 factions. Manmohan's political alignment was toward Moscow, although he had visited Beijing for medical treatment. Later, he justifies his intention to visit Moscow by spreading a rumor that he was going to visit Moscow in the near future on the ground of needing medical treatment, and to support this justification, he had a joint meeting of different factions of the Communist Party in Biratnagar and later in Gorakhpur, where he indicated his pro-Moscow inclination. No one could believe his statement that said his intentions were still to be in alignment with China. His screwed stage was neither on this side nor on that side. At last, he visited Moscow, but not on medical grounds. His political maneuver on 11th August 1984 for coalescing the different factions of communist parties under one assembly in order to exchange of ideas was significant, because the panchayat system had been previously benefited by too many factions in the parties, and it was enjoying a divided and rule policy. The communist faction led by Manmohan, Sahana Pradhan, Nirmal Lama, Krishnaraj Burma, Tulsilal Amatya, Siddhelal Singh Male, and some other major leaders of other factions had participated in the Biratnagar meeting. Excluding the pro-Russian Kesharzang Raimaji group that had aligned itself with the panchayat system from the very beginning, and Mohan Bikram's group, which had already secretly been affiliated with the panchayat system in its every activities. Many pro-Chinese Communist Party prefer to choose the line of the pro-Russian Communist Party as a result of this meeting. Beside this party, a big group of radical communists was attached to the panchayat system, and this panchayat communist group was working actively within the framework of one-party panchayat system. Despite the fact that the above joint meeting had acted as a common arena for the change of the leaders' view, it did not prove their readiness to join together for revolutions. If they all started allegations against the panchayat system unitedly, then the Congress party would ally itself with the panchayat system in order to strike back against the communists. Two factions of the Congress party had already joined the panchayat system, deserting their own group, primarily because of racial discriminations. The panchayat and the Congress alliance could get along together better than a panchayat and a communist alliance. In spite of this, to create a greater force against the panchayat party, which claimed to be the only authentic flawless democratic party, both the Communist and the Congress party should have united together to bring the dawn of the multi-party system in Nepal. But the so-called iron pillar of the Congress and the panchayat parties considered themselves to be the pioneers of the Hindu religions by contributing secret donations to their Indian Hindu counterparts. They declared Nepal as the only Hindu kingdom of the world, but I would say the lonely and the last Hindu kingdom. The communal pioneers of the panchayat system and the aligned leaders of the prohibited Congress party and even the radical communist leader have a mutual understanding and parallel dialogue in such a racial issue. Their ideologies never contradicted in such a communal matter. The Congress party seemed to be divided into two factions, comprising Krishna Prasad Bhattarai in one faction and Girija Prasad Koirala in the other. The Congress party seemed to be divided into two factions, comprising Krishna Prasad Bhattarai in one faction and Girija Prasad Koirala in the other. Pro-Panchayat faction, Koirala's political dream would come to an end if he had competed with ruling party, as other communist factions had merged themselves into oblivion. Ganeshman Singh, who had a long political experience that had been an iron man not only for the democracy struggle but also for this party. He had undergone life and death trials during the Rana period, but he put his life at stake in that democracy movement more vigorously than B.P. Koirala, who has in favor for merging Nepal into India at that time for the sake of his ancestral land, religions and culture, as Indian Banaras was the only holy pilgrimage place of the Bahun, who preferred to go there to take their last breath or to have dipped their ashes remnant after death and dreamed of attaining salvation afterward. Therefore, Koirala's educational and political career was rooted in his birthplace India. Because of this, Ganeshman Singh, a Newar, had to ponder and move carefully every time since he was not a Bahun. While Ganeshman Singh was committed to freedom, fighting both in thought and in action, even at the risk of the death sentence, B.P. Koirala was supporting India. At that time, the repercussions of the Second World War had broken the British rule in India extensively, and as a result, the British rulers were leaving India with the subsequent effect of the Rana rule beginning second badly in Nepal. The British rulers were prepared to leave India, but they were not prepared to disown the Gorkha army dupe. It was not because they had affections towards the Gorkha army, but because of a long history of Gorkhas' undaunted service, fear of other world war, and wholehearted blind dedications without raising any question or doubt to their commanders. The Rana colonial regimes and the British colonialist rule had conspired against the Gorkha army, treating them as tools and turning them into mercenaries. The Gorkha race is mostly comprised of the Gurung, Tamu in mother tongues, Magar, Rai and Limbu tribes. The word Gorkha doesn't mean the protectors of cows as described by the Hindus. That connotations had created confusions to the foreign scholars. Mongols are non-Hindus and they are beef eater, not cow worshipper. Newar, Tamang, Sherpa, Thami, Helmo, Gurung, Magar, Lepche, Rai, Limbu, Thakali, Sunwar, Dhanwar in the mountain and hilly regions, at the vast populations of the Tarai belt like Tharu, Rajbangshi, Dhimal, etc. being to the original Mongol race of Nepal. But in the Gorkha army, why were there only Gurung, Magar, Rai and Limbus recruited? Those warriors belongs to the Mongol race, whose definitions the Bahun and Kshetri attempt to distort. The ancient history of our land has been mentioned in the Hindi script, where the Kiratis was despitefully depicted as an uncivil wild race. The Mahabharata and the Ramayana epics also have mentioned the Kirati race and land. The Kiratis were the Mongol and the other aboriginal tribes of India. They were non-Aryan and non-Hindus. A large number of them were the followers of the Lord Buddha. The word Hindu identifies Bahun and Kshetris, in which the Bahun are the A class. Even in Bahun superior and inferior class, they observe Hindu rituals. The Bahun of Nepal are mostly from Kumaon, Garhwal, Kashi and other places in India. These people are Indian origins but Nepali. Therefore, they should be addressed Indian Nepali in Nepal. Some of them have created the problem not only in Bhutan but also in some part of India, that is Nagaland, Assam and Meghalaya. They are the dreamer of not greater Nepal and greater Sikkim but multi-Hindu kingdoms. Once Myanmar took a strong step against their people. What was the reason behind it? Who were the problem creators? Their forefathers were of black Aryan and they had come to Nepal seeking shelter during the period of Mughal invasions in India. But in course of time, the ownership of the land was gradually confiscated from the land of the Aboriginal race. Even their political, economical, religious, educational, cultural, human rights, and heritage were deprivated, dishort, and suppressed by the wily refugees, who eventually become the owner of the land, and ironically, the landless owner were crossed and portrayed as refugees. Thank you. Jai